So I'm Matthew, I'm still Matthew. And I'm the founder of the Mycelium School. The Mycelium School is a learning laboratory for social innovation and entrepreneurship opening here in Asheville in the springtime. It's for 18 to 30-year-olds, 18 to 35-year-olds. And it's really interesting. I'm really glad we have some youngers here. I think if I were a younger now, I would not be enjoying this. But I think it's really important that we are opening up this conversation and that you guys are here and hearing what this is. I mean, this is going to be your world, and we're doing it for all of us. So you guys are going to be the ones that are going to need to do this. So I know I'm using my precious time, but I think this is precious to talk about. So thank you for coming. So I'm going to talk about myself a little bit first, because I think it's important to get to the why of what we're doing. And I think I can be a little bit of a bridge between the youngers and the olders and the elders here. So I went to high school, graduated high school, public high school, had absolutely no idea what I wanted to do with myself or with my life. So I did what a lot of us do, went on to college, spent 4 years, lots of money. Graduated college, and this time I still had no idea what I wanted to do, who I was, what the world was, and how to make a meaningful connection. So again, I kind of was on this conveyor belt. I moved to New York City and was doing a job that I really liked. And I did that for a couple years, and I realized that really liking is not enough. So I didn't know what I loved. And none of my friends, really none of my friends, knew what they loved. So I needed to figure that out for myself. So I moved back home with my mom, and I worked for a couple of months and raised some money, and I bought a van. I know this sounds like not a very glamorous story, but I bought a van, and then I set out on a walkabout. I really wanted to explore the world, and I wanted to really become embedded in different cultures and different experiences. So I worked and lived on the Blackfoot Reservation in Montana, herding cattle for about 5 weeks. I worked on a fishing boat in the Bering Sea for 126 hours a week for 43 days in a row with felons and ex-felons. I really don't recommend that to anyone. And then I went down to Hawaii, and that really kind of made up for everything. But the point is, I did all these really diverse things, and I was there on my own. I was exploring the world, and I was vulnerable, and I was making mistakes, and I was making a fool of myself, but I was learning. I came back to Connecticut, which is where I grew up, and everything was the same except for one thing: me. As I explored the world out there and the diversity of the world out there and those experiences, I explored the diversity of the world in me. And I came alive. And for the first time in my life, learning made sense because I was connected to it, and it was all connected to itself. So for the next 7 years, I spent pretty much on and off traveling as a photojournalist around the world and continue to have these conversations. And about 3 or 4 years in, there was one thing that I realized that was this really pivotal realization for me in the trajectory of my life, and that was genius. Genius means inborn nature, if you trace it back to the etymological roots. Inborn nature, genius, exists within every one of us. And so often our education system pushes that out. I think Einstein said that everyone's born a genius, but the act of living de-geniuses them. So I only have about a minute left, which is unfortunate because I haven't talked about Mycelium School at all, but I'm going to do it like an auctioneer now. So basically, I realized that we all need to come alive, not as just unique individuals that we are, but the world needs it. So I spent about the past 3 years really refining, ideating, dreaming into how do we create a space for these youngers to really come alive. And it's not only going to be for youngers, we're going to open it up for everyone, but this is where we're starting. So for the past 3 years, I've been developing this idea, and really, I'm going to just talk about 2 things, and there's really 14 different things I want to share with you right now. But what we're doing is we're inviting emerging leaders from across the country, across the world, and here in Asheville to come to the Mycelium School for this 9-month program. And we're basically going to do 2 core things, and really more than that, but 2 I'm going to talk about right now. One, these emerging leaders are going to be developing a social venture. So this is basically an enterprise that they're developing over the course of these 9 months designed to be resilient, responsible, and profitable. We believe that there's value in business schools and going and getting an MBA, but if you are going to be an entrepreneur, you cannot learn about that in a classroom. You need to be an entrepreneur. You need to do it. You need to learn branding by doing branding. You need to raise startup capital by raising startup capital. So our participants will develop this hands-on experience. The other thing is visiting instructors. We're going to be inviting leading thinkers and doers from really diverse fields to come learn with and teach to not only our participants, but the Asheville community as a whole. We believe that learning happens in community. So these are going to be leading thinkers, innovators at Google and Facebook, best-selling authors, spiritual leaders, people who are teaching poetry to gang members in LA. Really diverse learning and experiential palette. So at the end of these 9 months, our participants, these emerging leaders, are going to have the hands-on entrepreneurial experience they need, the deep network, deep and diverse network of a cohort of change agents and mentors and thought leaders, and really just kind of bringing it all together and having a deep realization of what their calling is in this world. And then we're going to set them free, set them loose, and support them in their journey to make it happen. So right now, I just have 3 quick things, really quick things, ways that you can get involved, should you want, if this really resonates to you, if you want to revolutionize education, want to revolutionize business, that's what we're all about. One, we're looking for coaches, personal coaches and entrepreneurial coaches for our participants. It's really important. We're looking for corporate clients. Our participants are going to be teamed up with entrepreneurial advisors working with corporate clients. That way they can offset their tuition and we can make this an accessible program for people who are not necessarily economically advantaged. And the last is we're looking for visionary investors for nonprofit loans, for donations. We're looking to raise $60,000 in the next 7 months. So if you could support us there, that would be amazing. Thank you so much.